All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I think it's afternoon for everybody. Today is Thursday, March 10th in most parts of the world, and this is our fortnightly design meeting. Before we get into agenda items, I'd like to go around and do some quick introductions. If everyone can share your name, where you're from, and if you have something exciting to share with the group, feel free to do that. I can start. We're going to do popcorn, so after you introduce yourself, please call on the next person. I'm Jen Lampton. I'm joining from Oakland, California. I'm working on a couple of new, very complicated backdrop sites, which makes me really excited. I get to work on things like OG and field collection and stuff that is hard. So I'm really looking forward to that. Robert, do you want to go next?
I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet, coming from Altadena, California. And I'm working on various odds and ends, including a little bit of City CRM work. Martin.
I'm Martin Price in the UK. It's evening here. And I'm working on I'm working on a fun site design of custom sub-theme, but I'm also getting ready for Backdrop Live and preparing some stuff for that. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'll go to Arena.
Hi, my apologies if my mic is not working well. I'm working out of Vancouver today, and I'm getting ready for Backdrop Live tomorrow. Looking forward to the Friday afternoon block. Lots of people said that they're interested, so I'm looking forward to seeing, talking about themes, talking about migrations, and talking about building some of the Stanford, listening to how Stanford built some of the stuff on Backdrop. And we also have a couple of complex sites to come, so learning lots of things. Thank you. Yes, and I am supposed to say something, Tim.
Thank you. I'm Tim. I'm St. Paul Tim. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota. In the middle of dealing with client issues today, so a bit distracted. Also, of course, putting a lot of work into a lot of time into Backdrop Live, which is tomorrow. So things are going pretty good. We have a full schedule and pretty good registration, although we could use a few more. Yeah, and I've got some interesting. We've just so much stuff going on right now. We have Open Force 2022 participants all over our issue queue trying to help us with issues, and I've been helping them, and also trying to port some complex Drupal, some complex modules to Drupal, to Backdrop from Drupal, and that's been fun. Thank you, Joseph, for all your help. Speaking of Joseph, have you went?
Nope.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm a backend developer from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm not actually working on anything design related. I'm writing documentation on the CAS system. And I don't know who's left. Mr. Vossrikon?
Yes, I'm here. I'm in Walnut Cove, and I'm interested in what we can do to get beginners started into Backdrop. So are we back to Jen?
I think so. And your mic sounds much better. Thank you for fixing it. Okay, let's see. So on the agenda today, first item is a Backdrop core user experience issue, cleaning up the layout for the layouts listing page. This is issue 5077. I think we talked about it 2 weeks ago. It's still in the same state. Where Robert and I have been the two people who are working on it most, and we can't remove or review our own code. So if we could get somebody else, even just to test it in the sandbox and let us know if you think it's a good path forward, that would be good. And then if we can get enough people to say that it looks good functionality wise, we can probably ping a core developer to look at the code if no one else has done so yet. But I'd love to see that one get in before the next minor release, or at the next minor release. The next one is number 4093, the hidden path content type issue. Robert, looks like you just reviewed that. Do you want to give us a little update where it's at?
Oh, yeah, hang on just a second. Let me pull it up. Oh, so this is Tim's favorite issue, which is the pageless note issue, and I get per Tim, we're seeking further feedback on appearance and usability, and that's the comment that I just put in. But I like it, so I hope others do. And there is an outstanding issue with tests, automated tests that are failing, and Tim has asked for some help on that. I guess we're hoping that someone can jump in and help with those tests. Tim, anything you want to add?
Well, I'll simply add that there was a lot of a flurry of activity right before the last release on this, and we decided we couldn't get it in. We were hoping to get it in really early in this release cycle, just because it's kind of a big visual change, and so we'd have plenty of time to revise it even after it got merged. And we're about halfway through the release cycle, so it would be really good to sort of figure this out and get it merged, just so that we have more time to sort of test this over the next few months and not sort of leave it at the last minute again. So anyway, so it was waiting for me for several weeks. I finally got a fresh PR now. I just need, as Robert said, I need some more eyes on it and feedback, and also help with those tests so we can get this merged.
Okay.
That's it.
Great. And then there are a couple of other things that came up that aren't core issues, but before we move on to those, does anyone else have any core usability issues we should talk about? No. Okay. So Tim, I wanted to bring up the forum site and the survey. I don't know, you did most of the work on that. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all. You're muted.
I thought so. Couldn't find the mute button. I found it. Well, Jen, you actually did a lot of work on this too. So, but I did do some of the final stuff on it, and probably am to blame for any of the wording issues or whatever. So we're talking about the survey, right?
Yes.
We did a year ago. We set up a special site, and we did like a 2 or 3 week survey, let people vote on the feature issues that are most important to them, or that they would like to see prioritized in core development. It's purely advisory, this survey. There's nothing binding about it. But it's a chance to know what the community is most interested in seeing get into core, and hopefully to motivate our volunteer contributors to work on those issues. We have referred to that survey a lot over the last year in our planning meetings. We did, a number of issues did get completed that were sort of priorities from last year. We wanted to implement this again. We put it on the forum site this time instead of having it on its own standalone site. We've integrated on the forum site. Jen, you figured out or worked some magic to get all of the, I think, feature requests from the issue queue into. So basically, we should explain that so people understand if they're trying to figure out what's there and what isn't. Basically, it's anything that's tagged with feature request, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I found something from last year's survey, and we should talk about how to deal with this. I found an issue from last year's survey. I forget which one it is. I can find out, I think, here in a second. That was marked as a task. And which one was it? I don't know, but it had gotten multiple votes in last year's survey, and but it wasn't showing up in this year's because of that. And so I added the
label
feature request tag to it. And so will that automatically get added now at some point? How is that working?
Yeah, so it should, I think it runs the import every hour. It'll pull in the 100 most recently updated issues tagged with feature requests. So if you tag an old issue with feature request, that should still come in, or if you modify an older issue, that'll come in too. So hopefully that'll continue to pull those in. Have you noticed it not appearing?
I haven't checked yet.
Okay.
But I raised this because it was kind of a meta issue, although I don't know if it was labeled that way. And anyways, and it was late. It was I think Greg had created the issue and called it a task. And I know sometimes Greg is very particular about the difference between tasks and feature requests, because technically feature requests can only get in a minor release, and tasks can get in a bug fix. So I anticipate Greg like not wanting the feature request on there, because that affects when it can get in. And I don't know. There potentially there could be some things that are labeled as tasks that should be on this list, and I don't know how we want to deal with that. If we just want to accept, or go ahead and add the feature request tag anyways, or I don't really care, but I'm just afraid that some people might be confused now about if they should be what they should be thinking about when they pick the label. Should they be thinking about the survey or
I mean, I think in general, it'll probably come out right most of the time, where if we're adding a new thing, whether it's something in core or whatever, it'll get feature request. There are some weird gray areas where it's like, is that a feature? Is that, and I say we can probably just add both labels. And then that way in the feature request label will make it show up on GitHub. But then when we see it in the issue queue, it'll also be labeled as task, and that can kind of set off. But I think what we should probably do is err on the side of making things show up on the survey if we're not sure. And then the people who are working the issue queue will have a better idea of understanding when something is and isn't a feature request, and they can figure that out as they're working on it. And I think that as we're deciding which milestone to move something in, we can evaluate the issue then. And even if it has the feature request label, we could put it into a bug fix milestone if necessary. But usually by the time something's that close, it won't need to be on the survey anymore either. So we'll have already voted it in, or someone is working on it. So yeah, I think if you aren't sure, add the label. It's a good rule with them.
Well, I think that's useful for people just to understand how that works. We do have, we'll be improving some of the features on here. I think right now, what it does, we really only have two. So there's a special page that shows all of the, there's a link, and I don't know if people have ideas. Actually, why don't I share my screen quick? So we can look at this and see exactly what it is. So Jen, I don't know if I ever got feedback on if this is the best place to put this, or if we should, survey is a little bit vague, but I don't know a short, better a menu item, but that would be something people could give feedback on. It could be that we choose to link to this in a different way than in the main menu, but that's where it is right now. There's just a link on the corner, and that just takes you to this page. And this page lists, again, all of the feature requests on GitHub have been pulled in and nodes created. There are, looks like 9 pages of them. So is that really all of them? Anyways, it's a lot, because there's like 25 a page, isn't there, or more? Maybe 50. Yeah, there must be 50, at least 50 a page, huh?
Something like that.
You can search for an issue number, and if it's a feature request, it should show up here. That's how I was testing this. That's how I found the one that wasn't. It didn't show up, and then I went and found it on GitHub and saw that it was a task. I'll try to check later to see if that's working. In theory, you should also be able to, I don't know, let's just try typing filter by a keyword and get feature requests related to that. And you can, then you can just vote for an issue. And if we refresh this page, it's still showing. So this is interesting. It like just refreshing the page didn't clear the previous search, and there is no reset, so you have to actually delete the search term. It will, you do have to refresh the page to see the updated results, but if you refresh the page, you'll see the updated results. We're sorting by vote, so people can see how other people are voting. There's no limit on the number of votes that an individual can have. We're asking people to vote 10 times or less. Your vote has more impact the fewer votes you have. The more votes you cast, the more it sort of dilutes them. So it's really not in your interest to vote for 30 things. What else? Oh, and if you go, the only other thing is if you go to your profile page, you can see a list of the things you voted for. Now, I went, I just said, don't vote for 30 things. The only reason I did this is I went and voted for everything that was on last year's survey so that they would sort of float to the top and
Okay.
that people would see them. And there probably is a better way to do that. That was my temporary hack, was to just float all those things to the top so people would see them, and then I will clear my votes. Like I might do that now because I did this at a point when there were no votes.
I like that though, because I don't want to lose the fact that we had those issues in the survey from before. Can we change those to drop votes? I think I'll look into that.
The language?
No, just the drop user. If it voted on it, then you could still vote for what you wanted. And
oh yeah, exactly. That would be a great solution for this.
yeah, okay.
It's just to have drop do that. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
I did put some feedback on the GitHub that we could do with a link so that people know where to go to see the list of what they voted, especially when we're saying limit to 10, because you can't easily, if they're dotted around, you can't easily find out how many you've voted for.
Right. Right now, there's no way. Users don't realize that list is on their survey, their profile page. And like in my case, if I went to my profile page, I'd have to scroll down to even see that it's there. So I think what Martin is suggesting is that we just make it more visible to people that this list is available. So if anybody has ideas on how to do that, I think Martin, you might have given some ideas, but I haven't had time to look at them. Greg did put some notes this morning. He went in. I think we had the word unvote or something, and he went in and changed the wording a little bit, which I think was probably good, an improvement. If anybody has other little ideas like that to improvement, we're rolling this out in stages. So we did a quick sloppy MVP because we wanted to get this going before Backdrop Live, but we will continue to improve it. One of the things we had last time was a list of everybody who voted for each issue on that page. And I like that. I mean, I don't view this as a secret voting kind of thing. For me, this is kind of a conversation that we're having. And so, you know, if two of my votes are tied for number one, and I want one of them to be priority, I might go out and unvote for one of them, right? I want other people's votes to influence mine. I think that's a good thing. So, anyways, any questions about this? That's really everything that's there.
Just say go vote.
Yep. Yeah, I think we only had well, here we'll look really quick. In the last survey, the top vote getter was 14 votes. I suspect we'll do much better this time. Well, one, because of the location of the voting, and also we have Backdrop Live. If we promote this at the opening session of Backdrop Live, I think by the time Nate does his core conversation in the evening, you know, we might have 25 or 30 votes, which is, you know, that's enough data to be useful. Okay, that's it. Anyway, I'll put a link to the archive site of last year's. You can't vote anymore, but I'll put it in Zulip and I'm done. Back to you, Jen.
Okay. I don't know that there's anything else on the agenda. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to talk about? Should we shift gear to Backdrop Live since that's coming up, or?
Sure, we could. And maybe the one issue that I put, I don't know if it's a design UX issue, but it's the only reason I'm prioritizing this is that one of our open source. So another thing that's going on right now for anybody who's involved in the issue queue is we are part of a hackathon. Mostly it's targeted at students in, well, in theory, students from anywhere in the world that are first-time contributors to open source. So trying to help students get involved in open source projects. Now this project is organized in India, and most of the participants are in India or that region of the world. So unfortunately, they're mostly working while most of us are asleep. But one of them picked an issue which I mentioned, and it is kind of design and UX related in the agenda today, and it requires a little bit of feedback. And I thought to keep this, so there's a contest element to this hackathon. So they're trying to sort of get commits so they can get some prizes. So it's one, useful that we're speedy in that regard. Also, just as sort of first-time contributors, the sooner we're able to respond to and help these folks out, the more likely they are to go on and do additional issues. And we have one guy who's already on like his third issue, I think. And one of his issues is this one, which is adding a link. So do we have a screenshot of the actual PR? I don't. Well, we have a sandbox. What the PR does is it adds a link to the each module listing to the project page on backdrop.org and the GitHub repo. That's what the original request was for. So if we go here to list modules and we open up any one of these, it now adds this link. So you can click back to the project page or to the repo. Now these are core modules, so these links don't work, but I have backup and migrate installed, I think here, yeah. So if we click on here, we could click on that and it would take you to the backup and migrate page. The reason I put this on the agenda though, is that after Greg saw the PR, as he is prone to do, he came up with a better idea, or another, I don't know if it's a better idea, that's why, which is why not, we already have in the project browser, we just open up the README file in a sense from the project page right in line. And he's like, well, why do we link back to the site on that page if we're linking, you know, if in the project browser, we can just open all that information up in a modal. And so the question is, are we interested in that option? Or are we interested in either of these? Because only 2 or 3 people have commented on this issue. So it's not even clear if this is a feature we're interested in. So I would like feedback on this, even if not here, as soon as possible, so that this open force participant can either continue to work on his PR or recognize that it's not going to go anywhere, and we can, you know, let him know.
I've a number of times when I've looked at projects in the project browser, thought, oh, I want to see if there's any issues on here, but you then have to sort of jump away, type it in to find it. So I think there'd be quite a bit of merit in this idea. Certainly going to the GitHub repository and possibly to possibly if you've got all the README stuff, then the most beneficial location is the issue queue on the GitHub repository. Those are just my initial thoughts. If you want, I'll have a look and offer some feedback on the ticket. But
I'll put this in. Go ahead.
There's sort of a meta issue question here, because we've got disagreement among you know, experienced committers in the queue, because one wants it and another doesn't. And for this for the open force person, how do we advise a contributor when there's disagreement? How do we advise that person how to proceed? Should we say, well, when you get at least a majority of at least 5 contributors, then you can make a decision based on that. I want to eliminate frustration on this new contributor's part, who says, I don't know how to go forward.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think we might not know the answer to that question as a community, which is a obvious problem. But my general experience at a sprint would be to tell the person like, hey, let's pick another issue, to try and like waste as little time as possible for them so they're not fighting about it, trying to get their issue forward and they can move on to something else. It would be nice if we had a better answer for them. Would be like, hey, this is going to involve either we come to a consensus here, or if it starts to look like there's not going to be a consensus, it goes to the PMC, and after it goes to the PMC, then it comes back and then you can work on it. But that makes it so far away in time from their current sprint that I think that saying like, hey, just pick another issue is probably the best thing to do in the moment.
Okay. Well, just quickly for the record, that person I gave them that advice. I said, thank you for that PR because it has sparked a discussion. That discussion may not be immediately resolved, in which case you still help move the issue forward. Now move on to another one. And he is already doing that. But it's still, if there's any opportunity of resolving this, it would be nice. But if there's not, that's understandable. It isn't really a dispute yet. Greg suggested something else, but he said, what other people think, and we just haven't got any other feedback yet. So it isn't like Greg is in one camp and somebody else is in another. It's really, we just have 2 ideas and really no discussion yet about the pros and cons of either of them. So any help on that, it doesn't have to be right now, but that would be nice.
Is there another issue for the other recommendation, or is it still just sort of an idea in infancy? We don't know.
Greg just put it into this issue, so there's not a separate issue yet.
So another thing too would be just to say, let's talk about that issue over there and just keep moving this one forward. And then if at some point we decide to go with that one instead of this one, we'll close the rest. But then that way, the person who's doing the work on this issue can sort of get it to a ready to merge state, regardless of whether it gets selected or not. I don't know if they're going to feel as rewarded by that if they put all that effort in and then it doesn't get merged. But it is one way for work to continue even if a decision hasn't been made.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else we want to talk about? Marina has a question about Backdrop Live. Should we address that? Since we're coming up on Backdrop Live tomorrow. So the question is there a plan to record any sessions? This comes up all the time in regards to Backdrop Live, and most sessions are discussions, which is just a group of people talking. And because of that, if you impose a recording, it changes the type of discussion. There will be people who don't feel comfortable speaking at all. There will be people who are worried about what they say. There are people who maybe aren't worried about what they say, but then might get in trouble for it later. So in general, we try not to record a conversation. That said, there might be times when someone's like, oh, let me just do a quick screen share and talk about whatever it is. And it is possible that something gets recorded. I would like to sort of advise that if that does happen through the event, the person who is responsible for that conversation needs to be very good about announcing that the session will be recorded, allowing people to mute their microphone, change their name, or turn off their video, so that if there is any concern about them being seen in that conversation or speaking in it, that they are aware of it ahead of time. So in general, no, we encourage not recording, but it might happen, and we have some sort of guidelines around how to handle it when it does. Yeah, we did. I'm not sure if people who are watching the live stream can see the conversation that's happening in the sidebar, but Irina said if there is a presentation and the presenter agrees, we could do a recording of the presentation. We have a presentation content type on the event's website, and the idea is that that recording should be posted there and hopefully done without the live audience. So that there isn't a chance of anyone being recorded against their will. And hopefully, in a perfect world, that would be up before the event. The likelihood of that happening is probably about 0. But that what it was there for. It was modeled after a successful event that's in sort of more of the I don't know, typical event where there are people who reach out to people ahead of time, ask them to prepare their presentations, request the video recording, and then post their video recording on the website before the event. This is not that kind of event, so we don't have that kind of hand-holding for all of our presenters. But if anyone wanted to create a presentation, we would provide the utility for them to post it on the website and then link the discussion about the presentation if they wanted to do that. So again, in the future, we've also identified a need for more of these presentation type content because having those videos online is really valuable. We just haven't figured out how to get that to happen for our community yet.
Can I just say, we did for a while, we were doing user groups, virtual user groups, which were recorded and left online. And I have two, I think we do want some opportunities for people to do presentations and have them recorded. And one of my ideas has been that we just schedule a 4 or a 6-hour event. That is, the part of the problem is that we have a hard time getting enough people to do presentations to like fill up our schedule. So to like have a traditional backdrop camp, we couldn't. I think we'd really struggle to fill it up with prepared presentations. And the informal nature of the conversation makes it easier to create a schedule. But if we could do a shorter event that was focused on those presentations, I think we could get 4 or 6 people to do structured presentations. We could record them, and we wouldn't have to put a lot of work into recruiting participants and stuff because the whole goal would be to record, right? So it could be live, we could promote it, and if we got 4 or 5 people there, maybe that's enough because the main goal is to get the recording done. And so that wouldn't take a lot of work, and I'd be totally open to that, or to take some of the more polished presentations and just schedule user groups where we can record them. I'd be happy to help with either of those because I would like to see some of this stuff get recorded. I'm just not sure if Backdrop Live is like.
Another great event. Yeah, we've also been talking about trying to find some way to incorporate that into Backdrop Live as like the dedicated block for that sort of thing or a dedicated day for that sort of thing so that it would become part of the same event, but we haven't figured out how to make that happen either. So there's lots of great ideas around how to better generate that content. So yeah, everybody's very excited about tomorrow. I don't know, I am. All right, we are running up on the end of our hour. Any last thoughts before we wrap up this meeting and start the next one?
I have I'd like to make a decision. Block D is there's only one session. The person who's in that session is had asked me at one point, like, should I schedule it for a different block so that there's more people come? And I explained to them that, well, we really want people to be in this session so people will come, but we can't guarantee that. So really the decision's up to you. And this guy agreed to keep his session in Block D. And I sort of suggested to him, we could reevaluate your decision later based on, and it's now the day before Backdrop Live. We have no other sessions in Block D. I'm inclined to just cancel Block D and give this guy the opportunity to move his session. And I wanted feedback on that.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Yeah.
Good. I will send him a note and ask him to pick another time slot. He's in Ireland, so the slot worked well for him, but he's already indicated that he could do it at a different time. Maybe the one other thing is, can we can we look at the schedule quick? I'm gonna share my screen again. Let's not show you my work here. So on our schedule, we have blocks. We've never had more than, even on the day of the event, we've never had more than 2 simultaneous sessions. We have 3 of them, and this is completely pre-scheduled for blocks A and block B are both full, 3 columns wide. Block C, we still have space. Block D is what Jen must have just canceled because it was there last time I looked. This is the session upgrading multiple sites made easy from the MetaMan, famous from our forums. He's been around for a while. I'll ask him to move his session, but then we'll close out block D. Block E was down to only one open room, so I opened that up to a third. And then block F is our last session. We still have some empty slots there. So I just wanted to throw that out and see if there was any feedback on this. Jen, like I don't know how to handle. In the past, we sort of, we might have had in the like block A, maybe we had 2 columns full, and then on the day of the event, we would say like, well, we can open up a third if anybody wants to schedule something. I'm not sure, like, what do we do tomorrow if somebody wants to schedule something in block
I mean,
A?
I think we can have the like 4 rooms open in Zoom and have the 4th one be unscheduled, and then if people need to go somewhere to talk about something, that'll at least be available. Thing that I think was interesting is the last time we did a Backtrip Live, in the intro session, we sort of went around and said, what are you here to learn? And what we, and then at the end we said, hey, it looks like there are 5 people who are really interested in Google Analytics. Can somebody lead a discussion on Google Analytics? And we can sort of sketch those empty slots in the rooms too. So I think leaving some of these empty slots in the schedule is going to be valuable for that purpose also. So let's plan on doing 4 Zoom rooms, even though there's only 3 slots, and let people use them when needed or not.
Sure. I mean, so we do have slots that we could fill even tomorrow in day 2. I guess what I was getting at is sort of what you're talking about. Yes, we could just do a 4th room. So you're saying we don't add that to the schedule though, or should we put a 4th one on? We could wait and like do that right at the.
I think it's always good to have one extra place where people can go. We'll also have the hallway or whatever the entry room is too, where people can talk there. Yeah. But I think having just an extra place where people can go and talk is going to be valuable either way. If we find during the intro session that there are so many people that want to talk about stuff and are only for the first 3 hours, we can always decide to add a 4th room to the schedule and a 5th room to the Zooms. And that would be an amazing problem to have. So I'm happy to help, in the moment with whatever needs to get adjusted.
Okay, and I'm happy to leave that and see how things go in the morning. Okay, we'll do it that way. Okay, that's it for the schedule.
Great.
I just have a sort of quick UX accessibility issue that I've identified today, and I'm not quite sure what the best way to what the best solution is. So I wanted to just sort of bounce it off here. I noticed when looking at the site that the alt text for the logo is fixed to be home, which is the name of the location that it links to, and that's not really proper alt text. The alt text, I mean, it could be something dynamic like site name and logo as an automatic way of providing an accurate description, which is what alt text should be. Or it could be that in the header block you provide the ability to put an alt text which might then not, or you provide a default, but then the ability to override it. I'm not sure what the best solution is, but I don't think it's right that it should be the name of the link, because that's not alt text. That's maybe the title, but it's not the alt text.
Did you find that was hard coded in the template for the header?
Yeah.
And that's probably something we just copied from Drupal and didn't even think about. But yeah, I agree. It would be good if we're going to be encouraging better alt text everywhere. That would be a fantastic place to start. Can you create an issue if you haven't already?
I will do.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a little hard because if we can change the default template, but if anyone's overridden that template, their site isn't going to get the update. And then I'm not sure that there's an advantage to keeping the alt text home, but somebody somewhere might be upset if we change their existing site's alt text on that tab. I'm not sure if that's real, but at least having an issue there will give us a chance to talk about that. I would rather see the improvement in accessibility than worry about that. But
yeah, no problem. I'll do that.
Great. Thank you for bringing that up. All right. Well, it is nearly end of meeting. I'm going to recommend that we turn off the recording and get ready for the next one. Does that sound good, everyone?
It's me.